Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Today we are going to have a look at one of the most brilliant games of the one and only Mikhail Tal. He's playing against Alexander Koblenz in 1957 in Riga. And it starts with e4, Mikhail Tal with the white pieces, and then we get the Sicilian defense. We go into the open Sicilian, and now we may get the Najdorf, but we don't. The Najdorf would be, instead of developing the knight, we play a6, and we could potentially see a transposition after this move a6, but we don't, and it's actually just this move e6. And now it's an open classical variation of the Sicilian, and here Mikhail Tal plays queen to d2, protecting the bishop to any sort of queen attacks. This is a similar idea to the Najdorf, and now we see this move bishop to e7. Tal cast us longside, and if we see castles now, you know it's gonna be fireworks on the board, because when the king's castle on opposite sides, we are going to see a strong attack on both sides of the board, where it's going to be complicated. So we see this move, knight b3. This move is actually supposed to prevent the queen from ever going here. So now we see this move, queen to b6, attacking, sort of pressuring this f2 pawn. And now the engine here recommends king to b1, but instead we see this move f3 from Mikhail Tal. And it serves multiple purposes, because now, after this sort of attack, we Mikhail Tal completely lashes out with this move g4. And as you can see, we're going to see fireworks on the chessboard. Why? Because you see the pawns are already attacking, and black is also looking for an attack. We see this move, rook to d8, sort of trying to stabilize over here and maybe break the pawns. Mikhail Tal plays bishop to e3, attacking the queen. The queen slides back, and then this move h4. Lashes out, Alexander Koblenz lashes out with this move b5, and now g5. Complete attack on the knight. The knight has to go back, g6. Completely giving up this pawn, and after takes, he gives up another pawn. Takes. The rook is under attack, slides all the way back, and then we see this move d5. d5 is a slight inaccuracy. Why? Because after e5, which is what Mikhail Tal plays, the knight now has to move, or it can capture. And now there are two ways. It's either bishop to f4 or queen to h2, threatening two things at the same time, and the king has to run. And after something like this, it is looking very bad for the opponent. What did Mikhail Tal do? Bishop to f4, slightly more inaccurate, but still holding somewhat of an advantage. So we see this, and now we are pressuring on both sides of the board. The king runs, and we give a check. And then we have knight blocks. Okay, Starfish says a better move would have been king to e7, but now we see this move, rook to h7. What a beautiful move. The only winning move in this position, and it's not really winning, but it holds the advantage. And what is it doing? It's basically attacking this. So now f5, protecting it like this, and obviously you cannot take over here, so Mikhail Tal plays a beautiful move, bishop to h6, and Stockfish says it's the only move that wins the game. So the game is not over by any means. It's actually a very hard game to play, and Stockfish only gives it a 0.6 advantage for Tal. So we're gonna have a few moves. But we get another brilliant sacrifice by Mikhail Tal. Holy! So if A takes B, and then we're going to see this. And it's actually pretty difficult to defend over here, and you already have to give up the knight, and the game is actually kind of over. Instead, we don't see that, and we don't see takes. We actually see this rook to f7, and this move rook to f7 doesn't withhold any advantage, because the purpose of doing this is to play this, sacrificing the bishop to play rook to g1, opening up this g file. Beautiful idea. And now after this move, rook to a7, simply protecting everything. We see this move, knight to d5, actually covering that. And Starfish says this would have been way more accurate, because after takes, we can take, and after takes we see another take, and then we see bishop to e2, and it would have actually been way easier to simplify. But now Mikhail Tal threw some of the advantage, but it's still a complicated game, and he takes. We see this move, bishop to e5, and you cannot see the evil bar, but the evil bar completely spiked up into the air, and now we get this move, knight to c6. Well, apparently, knight to f3 was even better, but this is completely fine too. Why? Okay, he captures, and you would think Tal captures back right away, right? No! Bishop to e3, attacking the rook, retreating at the same time, threatening to push this pawn, and it's a complete madness on the chessboard. As you can see, obviously my arrow was not correct, but the idea is that if you take here, even though Stockfish says it's good, it's actually a little bit dangerous because after this move f4 you aren't really breaking through, and you need to push. And after something like takes g6, then we go rook to d7, and then here it's actually pretty difficult. You need to play, oops, you need to play something like this, threatening over here, and it's actually a complete game from here on. Instead, we see this, and now Mikhail Tal, his opponent Alexander Koblenz, decides to go over here, opening things up. But now we get a brilliant, brilliant idea. Bishop to g5. Why? Okay, Stockfish says that this is actually winning too. But after this and this, we see this move, rook 1 to h6. Because you can put both rooks here. Okay, obviously, if you ever take here, you're gonna have bishop h6 check. Why? Because after rook g7, which is forced, otherwise it's gonna be complete checkmate. Obviously, you are not even going to take back, but rather take here, because this is pinned, there is no need to hurry, and if something like this happens, obviously, it's gonna be a complete madness again. So, his opponent decided to push, which was a bad move. Apparently, he was supposed to take and sacrifice the bishop, which is really, really, really hard to find, but that would have actually been a draw. Because, Mikhail Tal made an inaccuracy. I said this is a brilliant move because it is difficult to prove that it's a bad move. And, Mikhail Tal had a saying. He used to say, you need to bring your opponent into a deep dark forest where 2 plus 2 equals 5 and the path out is only wide enough for 1. And it's difficult to prove. I mean, is Magnus Carlsen finding this? Maybe, but his opponent didn't. And then after this takes and simply beautiful, wonderful king to d1, the only move that would hold advantage, but it's sort of an obvious move because you want to prevent the enemy from uh, obviously promoting to a queen. We see this move, queen takes c6, but the game is already over after a rook sacrifice. Is it really a sacrifice? Because after Tsak, check, we see rook to g7 and it's completely over. Instead, we see this move, rook to f7, and Mikhail Tal spots a brilliant move, queen to g7. And is it really that brilliant? I mean, he cannot take, and after running a few times around the corner, takes, takes. Obviously, this is checkmate, and the game is over. Mikhail Tal was a true master of the game, and this game shows that even though it wasn't the most accurate game, it was a genius game because his opponent did not know where to go. And obviously, if I got the eval bar here, it's easier to refute a move, and it's actually obvious which move is bad and which move is good. But it is actually not as easy when you don't got the eval bar. Now, I hope you liked this game. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and see you next time.